Hello, Klaus here, and welcome back to the channel. It is so lovely to see you back here. I hope you enjoy the content because more content are coming up right now. In today's video, I'll show you how to do this sci-fi effect inside of Fusion, and it is pretty easy to do, even though this tutorial is going to be quite long because there's some elements we need to do to make this effect look the best. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Let's get to the sci-fi laser effect tutorial inside of Fusion. Here we go. See you. Okay, so let's get right to it. So we are going to have a look at this particular clip here, where we are going to do some laser effects on. So let's get right to it. Let's go to Fusion. So here we are in Fusion, and we have our media in and our media out. So the first thing we'll drop in is we'll go right into where the movement are, and then we are going to drop in a background. And a merge node, we are going to use that as well. And then we're going to drop in a polygon mask. That was the word I missed. Okay, so selecting that, the background, and then we are going to make it into a reddish color. I think that would be good for this thing. And then we are going to go to the polygon, and we're just going to draw a shape. Something like that. Not too specific, but some kind of a shape. And then we're going to connect those two together, and we are going to make this as our foreground object. So here we have it, and now we can then reposition our laser beam here. And it's pretty big, I think. So we'll just select the merge node, and we are going to size it down a bit. So it looks more like we want it to be, something like that. And we'll just, again, mess around with the angle and kind of position it where we want. Right now it looks not too good, but it'll be better in just a sec. So let's go to the polygon, and then we're going to soften the edges. And we can always watch in our viewer 1, and we can see what we actually are doing. We can use that as a reference. Something like that, I think, look good. Okay. Okay, and then the level, we can make it more, or full power, we'll make it full power. Okay, that's the first thing we need to do. So now we have our laser beam in place. And we'll do a super quick animation, but we have to first figure out. We'll use the blend mode for this actually. Let's just put the blend to 0 and then do a keyframe. And then with the arrow keys, we'll just move a bit, like a frame forward. And then when we are 1 frame forward, we'll just take the blend mode and put that up. And then we'll just quickly adjust our beam so it will fit with the barrel of our gun. And then we'll just go 1 frame forward. And then we'll just use the blend mode again and make it disappear. So this is the first step in our, that was a little messy here, I think. Let's just have a look. That's fine. Okay, we'll just move it down just a little bit again, something like that. Yeah, something like that. So there we have the first laser beam going in. It's going to be good with sound effects, not necessarily my sound effects, but so that's good. Okay, everything's fine. Let's just have a last look here. Well, that would be very good with sound effects on. So we can also change the blend mode to screen actually, so it'll be more visible, or not visible, more transparent. But and you can actually play around with these different apply modes, in which you can find in the merge node. You can saturate it and then it'll be blue, but we don't want, we'll use the color one, I think looks good. Maybe. Yeah, the color one. Yeah, not too shabby. So let's just have a look at what we did right now. Pew! That's very cool. With sound effects, it'll be good. Okay, so first thing we are going to do now, because we are missing something. I want to make like a flash. And the first thing I need to do is I'll duplicate my first layer. And then I'll just push F2 and I'll just rename this light. And okay. So now I have the footage here, and then I'll dump in a merge node. And for now, I'm just going to set this as my foreground element. And then I'm going to take a B-spline. And I'm going to add the B-spline in. And then I'm just going to find the exact space where the laser beam is being fired. Like that. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to draw in a shape where I think this laser beam is going to reflect light. So most likely it would be in my face here. There would be like a flash or something from the laser in my face. So we're going to adjust it somehow. Okay. Okay, and then I'll just put in a color corrector, and instead of putting the light directly, I'm going to go through a color corrector and make that my foreground. And now when I turn up, you'll see that I have this color in my face, which we're going to fix in a second. So I'm trying to give it some reddish. So if I go into the B-spline here, I'm going to soften up the edges. You can just see what I'm doing here. Like that. Yeah. Okay. Let's just be in the right viewer. So I want to actually want the light to be in viewer. So I can actually see what I'm softening here. So I'll go back to the B-spline, and then I am going to give the soft edges. So you can see I can make it very soft. And then I have like what I actually want. And also I can do the levels here. And I think it might be very good if it's super powerful in my face. So you'll actually see what's going on here. So I'll add another B-spline and I'll connect that too. And now I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to do another area where I think there will be some light coming from the laser beam here. Okay, and I'll just do a shape around that. And then again, I'll go in and I'll soften out the edges. And then I can always look at my reference 1 and I can see how much I'm softening out things. Okay, we'll just connect another one. So we'll do another spline here, and then I'm going to do like 3, I think. You can do as many as you want, but I'm going to do 3. So I also think there'll be some red on my hand here. So let's try that. Okay, and then I'm again soft edging that out. And the levels. And then let's go into the output. And now, of course, it is just, if we move, we are going to have these red lines, just red blobs, not looking good. So we are going to need to keep those at the right place, right? So what we need to do, we'll go up to the keyframes, and in the keyframes we are going to find our merge 2. And first off, if I click this icon, it will zoom into where I am. So I have my merge 2 and I have my keyframe selected the right place. And then I am just going to minimize my keyframes here. And I'm just going to make it a bit larger. And then I am going to, again, I moved my keyframes wrongly, so I'm going to put that at the first frame, the red light here at the first frames. I'm just going to drag this a bit closer. I'm going to move one frame, and then I'm going to adjust the keyframes so it will only be one frame of this light glimpse. Here, let's go and take away the keyframes. Okay, and here we have it with the lights on, but we can do something a little bit better. We can add some smoke, because I think that's what we have in a muzzle flash show. It should be in a laser as well. I think I haven't shot a laser, but I think so. So we'll just quickly add a smoke element into this, and of course a merge, and we are going to make sure that our merge is going to be at the foreground. And with the merge selected, we are going to go into the apply mode and just change it to screen. And then we are just going to rearrange a bit here, and let's figure out where we are going to put in our smoke. Some place around here. Okay, then we're going to the merge, and we are going to replace our smoke here, and also think we should make it a bit larger, the smoke, because it needs to be a little cartoonish, right? Because with the gun I'm using, it should be a little cartoonish. So of course this is giving us another little issue here, but I'm going to chat about that in a second, because we need to figure out where the smoke should begin and where it should end, because it can't be there all the time. So let's figure out what we're going to do. Okay, we have this shot here. There we go. Okay, and then we are just going to figure out what exactly we want to do. Okay, I'll go to the merge node, and then I'll go to the blend. I'm going to take the blend to 0. I'm going to hit a keyframe. Going to, using the arrow key, go a frame forward, and then I'm going to change the blend mode, so I'm going to blend it in. And then I'm going to jump a couple of frames with the arrow keys. And then I'm just going to use the blend mode and put it to 0 so the smoke will disappear. So here we have that. Let's try to have a look at. We just need it to render a bit, I guess. So we have a little issue. I'm sure you saw it by now, but we'll just see if we can figure it out. So here we have it again. It looks way better, but our problem is that our effect is now covering up our bars, as you see. So we have our effect is simply crossing the bars we are having here in the shot. And you can easily remove that, of course, because you could either go up to the timeline and you could just add an output blanking and it'll be disappeared, or you could make using solid colors, solid layers, you could just make those the same size as we have already, or you can just zoom it out, of course, which is the fastest way. So now we have zoomed out our smoke going out of the frame. So that's something, but we'll reset that for now. And then I'll go back to Fusion. So this is the basic of doing a laser muzzle flashy, or shooting with a laser for you. So now I'm trying to rearrange my mess here, and you should always label your things better than I did in this tutorial. Please label them. I just kind of forget to label them when I'm doing the tutorial because I'm so into what I'm doing. So, but please remember to label it. So the thing we would like to do now, we're going to do a second shot. So now we have to, of course, change the thing up a bit because we can't use the same laser beam. So we have to create a new one. Okay, so let's just create, make some space here. Let's create a, again, putting in a background. and we are going to figure out how that's going to be. So I'm just going back to the background before because I can't remember the color I used, and it should be the same color. So one thing you could do is you could just double click here, and then we could just take the color here and then drag it or add it to our custom colors. So now we have that color in our custom colors, and it's super easy to just go to the background and double click here and then go in here and select it. So now we have the right color for our laser beam here. And then we are just going to put in another polygon. We are going to add these two together. We are going to make the background on the first one, and I'm going to disconnect the polygon because I can't see what I'm doing if I selected that. So with the polygon selected, I can then actually draw the shape I need to make here on my output, so I'm sure it will have the right angle. Okay, redo that again. There we go. And it doesn't have to be super precise either, so something like that. Okay, so now we have a angle for that. Okay, and then we just need to put down a merge, and we are going to connect the merge and make sure that it's the foreground, otherwise we can't see it. So here we have our laser beam. Okay, and then again we are going to use the soft edge. Maybe we could do something with the border width as well, and then we can move it just a tad, and then we go to the out. So this is our laser beam shot we have here. And then we, like last time, we correct it or move it so it fits into our image here, right? So let's fastly add in the light glimpse again. And just rearrange so we have space. So now I'm just going to highlight the light here. I might as well take the color corrector. I'm going to highlight all of these, Control C, and then I'm going to deselect everything and Control V, so I have my comp here. And then I'm just going to move that here, and then I'm going to add in a merge. Now I'm just going to add this in as the foreground. And now I have these red blobs again, because of course the frame has now moved, so I will need to reposition those. So I'm just going to take the spline one, and then I can just reposition them as I want. Change some in the mask if I want to. So the good thing is the soften and everything is the exact same, so I don't need to do anything about that. And then we have this arm here, which I'm supposed to be here. We can, I guess, something like that. Again, it's a super fast flash, so we don't need to be too precise, but... And actually I think it would be also better if I moved it so it fitted to the other side, because then I'm not going to confuse myself with which spline is what. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to adjust my mask here so it will fit. Great. And then I'll go to the last one we have here, and that was my hand before, so now that doesn't fit that nice. So again, I am just going to adjust the mask for this light as well. Again, it doesn't have to be too crazy, but something like that. Okay, and I remember now that was in merge 5, which is going to be good, because now I need to go to the merge 5 into the keyframes. Hopefully you are not calling them merge 5 like I did. And now we are going to find the frame where we need the blink to be. Around here. Yeah. And then we are just going to, again, move the the frames a bit. We're going to, we're going to adjust these things. Again, if somebody are using 2 screens on their setup, which I'm not doing on this particular one where I am recording, this would be a lot easier because you would have a lot more space to work with in the keyframes area. But I'm not so lucky this time. So again, I'll just move this a bit, and then I am going to move it a frame, and I'm going to end my animation after 1 frame. It is just 1 frame of blink anyway. Something like that. Okay. Put away the keyframes. And then, so let's just animate our laser beam, because I forgot it again. I just need to be there. Okay, here it needs to be on 0, and then I go a couple of frames forward, or 1 frame, and then I push in a keyframe, and I go a frame, and I put in a keyframe. So now we have 3 keyframes and the laser being shot. Good. I mean, I'm pretty sure by now you get the idea of this. It's pretty much the same thing you do for all of the different beams. So we are just going to continue adding the 3 elements, the laser, the flash, and the smoke. So let's skip all of that. And here we have the final result with a lot of sound effects. And then I'll talk about something else afterwards. Okay, so that's all the, and just to make sure, this is how the final composition looks, and it looks kind of intimidating, but it really isn't that bad. As you see, it's just you do the elements 1, and then you copy paste them, and then you adjust them more or less. So if we just look at and it is pretty messy, so maybe we could make a better and more better system so it's easier to see what we're doing. But we have our media in here. Here we have our laser beam, here we have our light, and then we have our smoke. And then it is just continuing the same pattern again and again for each and every laser shot. It's just the same thing. Okay, this was a pretty long video for once, but anyway, I do hope you found it useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it will help them out, and if you want to be notified every time there's a new video on the channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.